I didn't start with discipline. I started with excuses. The first time I noticed something was off, it wasn't dramatic, no massive, messed up moment. Just this weird pattern where money came in and then quietly disappeared. Food delivery here, a random online order there, a coffee after a long class. I used to tell myself this was just the normal student experience. But normal felt like checking my balance before going out and doing quick mental math just to see if I could afford a side of fries. I eventually realized I didn't even enjoy what I was spending on. Most of those purchases felt like a brief distraction that faded away after a day or two. When you dismiss frequent, small-dollar spending as a normal part of life, you lose your sense of direction. You stop making decisions and start reacting to whatever's left in your account. There was also this habit of physically avoiding my bank statement. I'd delay looking at it for days. Subconsciously, I think I believed that if I didn't check the numbers, the consequences wouldn't be real yet. It created this constant, creeping discomfort. I knew the money was gone, but I refused to confront the specifics. Financial anxiety is more than just being broke. It's the exhaustion that comes from actively hiding the truth from yourself. One evening, I forced myself to actually scroll through my transaction history. It was a deliberate, uncomfortable deep dive. The numbers weren't massive, but the repetition was suffocating. Seeing the same spending over and over made me realize I was operating on reflex. An impulse would hit, and I would execute the purchase without thinking. It was purely reactive. My first instinct was to fix it with extreme restriction. I tried to cut every single unnecessary expense and said no to every outing, trying to be perfect. That system failed almost immediately. The exhaustion of trying to track and categorize every cent led to a massive compensatory spending binge as soon as I got tired. Rigid financial tracking usually backfires when your life is already messy and emotional. Adding that kind of pressure on top of studies and deadlines feels like a punishment, which only makes you want to spend more to escape it. I eventually dropped the rules and tried something boring instead, a pause. Before buying something, I'd just wait. Not as a dramatic life change, but just enough to interrupt the impulse. Sometimes I still bought the thing. Sometimes I didn't. The goal was to make the process feel manual again, so I felt like I was actually choosing. I also stopped lying to myself about small amounts. This chart shows how they stack up in front of me. Those tiny $5 spends have more impact on a student budget than the occasional big purchase. Financial discipline starts when you restore your ability to hesitate. It comes from awareness, not from a place of intense control. I stopped comparing my bank account to people who seemed to have their lives perfectly organized. Some of them actually didn't. They were just better at hiding the mess. Even for those who do have it together, their situation isn't yours. Everyone deals with different support systems and different emotional pressures. Most student financial advice assumes you have a stable income and no social life. That isn't real life. Some months are messy, and some decisions are emotional. That doesn't mean you're failing. I became more selective instead of more restrictive. I spend on experiences with friends because they add value, but I've learned to recognize how empty those random scrolling purchases feel afterward. Standard advice fails because it demands robotic consistency from a fundamentally emotional human experience. Discipline is really just the ability to not feel out of control. It's about building enough awareness to see your impulses while they're happening. I still buy things I don't need sometimes, but it isn't automatic anymore. There is a gap between the urge and the action, and that gap turns a reflex into a conscious decision. Discipline shows up in boring, unglamorous moments. It's the choice to close a food app or decide, not today. It isn't an impressive character trait that you're born with. It's just a series of small, unimpressive moments of hesitation that actually work.